Chick here with episode 50 of the 70-day video challenge. We're going to pick up our story from last night. About 2 weeks have gone by. It's now October 23rd. And we find ourselves in the oncologist's office. It's my son, Manley, Jackie, and myself. And we're sitting in the oncologist's office waiting for her to come in. And we're trying to make the best of the situation. We're chatting and joking and kind of hoping for the best, but kind of dreading the worst. And after a little while, in walks the oncologist, a doctor by the name of Dr. Sate, who is a small woman, but very authoritative, very strong. That's one of the reasons we picked her. And she walks in, she sits down, and very matter-of-factly leans into Jackie and says, "I only want to know one way to say this, so I'm just going to say it. You've been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. There are 2 chemo regimens available to you depending on where the cancer is located in your pancreas. But I have to tell you that one is a little more difficult than the other. And it's your choice whether you want to do it or not. But I have to tell you from a personal standpoint, I don't think either one of them is going to extend your life." I don't know which one of us said it first or if all 3 of us just kind of shouted it out at the same time. It was like, what kind of a time frame are we talking about? Her answer kind of rocked us to the core. It was a bombshell. Again, in her very straightforward way, she leaned in again and she said, "About 10 weeks. She then, at that point, she got up and walked out of the room and left us to sit and digest that information and to talk about it. And we sat and we prayed and we talked and we prayed. And about 15 minutes later, she came back into the room. And I think it was I that said to her, "Dr. Sate, we appreciate your being so straightforward and we appreciate your wisdom in this, but being the believers we are, we think that our God can deliver Jackie from this cancer through both medical and miracle. And we're going to stand by that." And she kind of smiled nicely and said, "That's exactly what it will take." So that was followed by more tests to find out where the cancer was located. And unfortunately, it was located in the tail of the pancreas, which means she had to have the more difficult chemotherapy. But she decided she was going to go through with it. She'd been a fighter all her life and she wasn't about to give up now. And so we began to go forward. We started, that was about another, week before we started the chemo. It was a Wednesday. We got there at 8 o'clock in the morning. They got her all set up. They actually started the chemo from 9:30. And the chemo went from 9:30 in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I sat there with her and we watched a little television on the iPad and talked and read our Bible and prayed and spent the day together. They came in and fed us both lunch at noon. And then when we left there at 4, they gave her another chemo treatment that was on a portable pack that they put on her and she wore that for 24 hours, and it gave her a dose every so often. And then we had to go the next day to the hospital to have that removed. Now, it was scheduled for her to have the chemo every 2 weeks. And when they gave her the chemo treatment on Wednesday, they told us to expect side effects of nausea and chills and just feeling kind of bad by the weekend. Well, the weekend came and went with no side effects, and we thought, God is working. This is not going to be as bad as they thought. Well, little did we know, come Tuesday when the side effects did hit, they hit like a beast, and we wound up in the hospital for the nausea and chills and the vomiting and all the side effects for a week. And that was a very difficult time for us. The good part about it was she was able to have guests and visitors, and some of the pastors from our church came and prayed over her, and friends came and visited and met, and it wasn't as bad as it could have been. The good news about all of this is through it all, we never lost our faith. Through it all, not once did the thought come to my mind, oh, I'd like to have a drink, or I'd like to have something to change my attitude. That never happened. And although it was difficult, we never felt like we were deserted by God, and we never felt like we were deserted by family or friends. And so that made it, although not pleasant, it did make it bearable. And we will continue the story tomorrow night, one day at a time.